Hello, my name is Megan Kendall, and I'm a middle school art teacher. And I was trying to come up with a last day activity that I could do with my students that would be fun and engaging, not something I had to grade, and would just allow the kids to relax the last day of the semester. So because Christmas is coming up, I just looked on YouTube for all these minute to win it games, and I just kind of edited what I found on YouTube that would work in my classroom and with materials that I already had or materials that I knew I could buy really cheap at the Dollar Tree. So what I did was I broke my students up into 4 groups. I just counted them off, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I titled all of my games kind of with a Christmas theme, and I typed it up on a piece of paper, and then I gave the paper to the group, and just by reading the title, they had to decide who was going to play what game, and the game said if it was a 1-person game or a 2-person game, and I gave them 2 minutes to figure out who was playing what game. Every student had to play at least 1 game, and then some students might play more than once. So the benefit of having it already decided ahead of time was that I then collected this form, and then I would say, okay, game number 1 is Jingle Jangle, team 1 is this student, team 2 is this student. So I would call the students up so it was already determined who was playing what game, and this made it go really simply. The kids loved it. My school system gives out a Monopoly type money reward. We call them dog bones because we're the Brownsburg Bulldogs, and the kids can spend their dog bones in the student store. So the team that had the most points at the end just got handfuls of dog bones as a prize, and the kids loved it. We had so much fun the last day of the semester, so maybe this inspires you to do something similar in your class. This game I call Jingle Jangle, and one student from each team comes to the table, and I just bought gift boxes that had different prints on them, and I filled them with jingle bells. So I bought a pack of jingle bells. I divided them kind of 4 ways. So one box has 2 jingle bells, one box has 4 jingle bells, another box has 8 jingle bells, and then the last one had all the leftovers, which I think was like 13 jingle bells. So I gave them about 10 to 15 seconds to play the game, because if you give them too much time, then everybody's going to get it right. So you tell them to go, and they gently shake the box to figure out which one has how many, and then they have to put them in order. So the box that had 2 bells on the bottom, the box with 3 bells, 4 bells, and the most bells on top. But that's why you want to give them about 10 seconds, so it's a fast thing, so they can't think about it too much. And then you see who got it correct, and if there was only one person that got it right, they get the point. If it was a tie, I gave them both points. But the advantage to having different prints on the box would be that you could just memorize the order to know if they got it right, so you could just kind of quickly look from the side if it's in the correct order. And that one is Jingle Jangle. And make sure that you tape the box up though really well so that the jingle bells don't fall out and the lids come off. This game I called Christmas card Cliffhanger, and you just need some sort of a Christmas card and put it on the edge of a table a few inches from the end of the table, and then the kids are going to blow the card forward so that it ends up doing a cliffhanger on the side of the table. It is so much harder than you think it's going to be. That's why you want to give them just a few inches from the edge of the table. So the kids are going to come from behind and start to blow to scoot the card forward, and then their goal is to get it to cliffhang. But oftentimes the card fell over, so then they would have to pick it up and start over. If they blow too hard, then it all just falls off the table. So really, I only had one class figure this out. My 5th period class finally figured it out. None of the morning classes could figure it out. So if you blow sideways through the card to blow the front of the card, you are much more successful. Like that. But I watched the kids do this again and again to figure out what really worked. So classes where nobody got a cliffhanger, then I just had them line up with their card in the middle of the table, and I said, okay, you get one big breath, blow as hard as you can to push the card, and the card that goes the farthest is the winning team that gets the point. It is super funny because the kids do these big, huge breath blows, and the card typically ended up doing this. where it barely moved across the table. Some of them, though, it did go flying off the table. So that one, all it requires is one Christmas card. Okay, this game is called Move It On Up Cups, and I just bought a package of mini solo cups at the Dollar Tree. I think there were 22 in a package. I took a black Sharpie marker and I colored the rim from the side and the top black, and that's the one that starts on top. So I do this in teams of 4, and one kid from each team is volunteering. So they start with the stack, and then it's a speed game. So whoever finishes first gets the point. So what they do is they take the top cup off the top, put it on the bottom, and they repeat that. Top cup to the bottom, top cup to the bottom. If it drops on the floor, they have to pick it up and do that one again. And their goal is to get that black one back to the top. So they're moving it up to the top. And it's that simple, but the kids love it. They get into it. Some get really creative with like using their body to balance or their leg to balance. And that's it. So I bought the small cups just for storage space because all these games are not consumables, so that I can reuse them year after year, and it's easier to store these small ones than the full-size solo cups. So as soon as they get to the top, game's done, and the team gets that point. This game I called Santa Letter Toss, even though it's using Christmas cards. So I had just a huge pile of Christmas cards that I found in a back closet, but you could buy packs cheap, at the dollar store. So there's a box full of Christmas cards, and one person from each team comes to the box, and I have a marker on the floor that they cannot cross. And then what they're going to do is, so I have 4 kids at a time doing this. They pick up one card from the box at a time, and then they want to try and throw that card to land in their team's tray, and whatever tray has the most cards after a minute gets the point for that round. So it's pretty funny to watch the kids try to throw these cards because usually they don't land on the table, and they all have to pick from the same box, so they're fighting over the box, and they have to do one at a time. Lots just end up on the floor. Some end up karate chopping the card, and that makes it go a little farther. But it is a lot harder than it looks. And then at the end of 60 seconds, they just count who had how many cards in the tray. If nobody got cards in the tray, then I'll add a little time and let them keep throwing. All right, this was a partner game, and this one I called Stocking Stuffer. So I have tape on the floor about 5 feet across from each other. So one person stands on a piece of tape, the other person stands on the tape across from them, and then they decide who is going to be the bouncer and who is going to be the stocking stuffer. So the bouncer got a little gift bag with 10 mini wiffle balls inside. You could use ping pong balls. I just couldn't find any at the store last night, so I found these little wiffle balls in Walmart in the sporting goods section. And then I just bought some stockings at the Dollar Tree. You could do it with a Santa hat as well. So the idea, which I'll try to demonstrate, is that one student bounces the ball. They have to throw it on the ground, and the ball bounces up, and the second student, who's a stocking stuffer, has to catch the ball with just the stocking. But I put tape on the ground for their marker, and they're not allowed to move their feet. So their feet are stuck in place. They can reach out and kind of go side to side. Their hands, the stuffer, their hands cannot touch the wiffle ball. Now they could use their body to kind of catch it and let it roll into the stocking, but it's one bounce and a catch. If it bounces twice, it's a dead ball. If they miss it, it's a dead ball. And then they get 10 balls to bounce and try to catch, and the team that caught the most out of the 10 got the point. So they do it one bounce, and then they try to scoop it up with the stocking. So it is pretty tricky. I think the most one group got today was maybe 8 balls. But this one is an easy, fun one that the kids really liked. This game is really the one that is probably the most consumable, depending on how you want to reuse your material. So I bought brand new rolls of streamers just at the Dollar Tree, and you pick one kid from each group, and they can only use one hand. So most of my kids, because it's winter, had hoodies on, so I just had them put their other hand in their hoodie or in a pant pocket. Or if like me, where you don't have either, I said, okay, then just pull an arm into your shirt so you can't use that arm. So then what they do is they hold the open end and they drop the rest of it. And it's a full roll, so this is just a partial roll. But then I spread them out so they don't hit each other. And then when I say go, they have to swing this around their arm until the entire thing is wrapped up. It takes a lot longer than what I just did because that was not a full roll. And the kids are just flailing about. It's so funny to watch. Now this one, I just had them crumple it up and throw it in the trash just for the sake of time. But you could have the kids re-roll it back up so that another class could use the same materials. I just wasn't really thinking and just had the kids throw it away. But this one I call Streamer Wrap. I already had this set of candy canes created from a previous carnival activity that we did. I just used cardboard tubes that got glued to a wooden board base. We painted it red, and then I put white tape around it. And then these I bought in the plant section of Walmart. I think it goes underneath a pot that you put plants in. Not really sure, but they're sturdy and durable. So it's just a ring toss game. I put a line on the floor that the kids have to stand behind, and they get 6 throws to try to get a ring, and then if they get a ring, then that counts as 1 point. If they get more than one, then they get those total points, and that's the ring toss. Okay, this one is called Reef Rat, and I just bought these wreaths at the Dollar Tree, and then there was a 6-pack of like heavy-duty plastic snowflakes, and then I just had some ribbon in my classroom where I tied the ribbon from the wreath to the snowflake. And it's about waist length. So from my waist to the ground is about how much yarn or string I gave them. So what they have to do, and this was 1 person per team doing this at a time, so I have a set of 4 of these. They hold on to the wreath. They want the snowflake farthest away from them, and then they have to flip the snowflake through the wreath and catch it, kind of like that. And then they repeat this until it's wrapped up and there's no string left. Now, if it stretches across the wreath like this one, this doesn't count. They have to go backwards and undo it. But there were some obstacles with these jingle bells, which actually added to the excitement of the whole thing. But then they're just going to keep flipping it, and some smack themselves in the face, and that was extra funny. But then when it's all wrapped up, the first person to get it wrapped up like this was the winning team. Spread them out though, because they start hitting each other and other kids if they're too close together. And this one was Reef Rat, I think is what I called this one. This game I called Wide Out Draw, because I told the kids it's like you're in a blizzard, a snowstorm, and you can't see anything around you. So each student playing got a Sharpie marker and a white paper plate, and they had to put the plate on top of their head so they couldn't see what they were drawing. And I told them to draw a Christmas tree. So they drew what they thought was a Christmas tree, and then I said draw 3 round ornaments on the tree. So they drew 3 round ornaments. Then I told them to draw a star at the top of the tree, and then a fireplace next to the tree, but it couldn't touch the tree. And it had to have a mantle and then flames where the fire was going. And then I had them draw a rug at the bottom of the tree, and you could give them so many more things to draw depending on your time. So then I had them take their plates off, and they had to put their team number on the plate, and then we scored the drawing. So if they got ornaments on the tree, they got points for how many ornaments were on the tree, so this got a +3. If their star was at the very top of the tree, they got a +1. So this star is not on the top, so that's not a point. Then they had to draw their fireplace off to this side, and it couldn't touch. So if there was no touching the tree, they got a +1. If their flames ended up inside the fireplace, they got a +1. And if their rug ended up underneath the tree, directly under the tree, they got a +1. And then I just totaled up their points, and the team with the most points won that particular round. If they tied, then I gave both the teams a point. So this one would be a +6 score. But again, you could add to the drawing and make it much more complicated depending on how much time you want it to take. So this game was called Ornament Balance, and I saw this game on YouTube. So you need some sort of a balancing post. I just happen to have these big giant cardboard tubes that were donated to my classroom. So that was the base, and this is a partner game. And then you need a yardstick and some Christmas ornaments with hooks on the end of them. So I had a yardstick and a bucket of ornaments at the base. They had partners, and then when I said go, they had to put the yardstick on top of the post, and then they had to start hanging the ornaments, but they were assigned a side. So like one kid could only be on the right side, one kid could only be on the left side, and they had to start hooking the ornaments on this yardstick so that it stays balanced, and the first team to get 8 ornaments on total was the winning team. So if they didn't put it on equally, then it's going to tip and fall off, and everything falls off, and then they have to start over. So that is a fun game in theory. However, make sure the ornaments you're using are shatterproof because half of mine were and half of mine were not. So when they fell off of this from this height, they shattered on the floor, and that ruined the game. But the ones that were shatterproof did not break when they hit the floor. So just kind of be aware of the ornaments that you might buy if you're going to be doing the Ornament Balance game. Alright, this one is a Gingerbread Toss game. Now, I already had this made from a previous Breakfast with Santa activity that my art club does. But you could make something out of a big piece of cardboard. You don't even have to paint it. It could just have holes cut out of it. Something for the kids to throw the ball into. But if you make it once, you can use it again and again. So I then bought the soft snowballs that are just soft and squishy. And one year this was a snowman with holes in it, and then we revamped it and made it into a gingerbread man. So then I just covered my snowballs with socks so they look more like pieces of candy that they throw. So you could do this a variety of ways, where you could have a bigger hole that's worth more points and smaller holes, or it could be just it's a point per ball that goes through the hole. I would put a piece of tape on the floor so that the kids have to stand far back behind it, and then give them a certain number of tries or balls to use, and that is as easy as that. The kids love to throw things. You could make it across the room where they have to overhand throw it. That would be pretty funny. But this one is just like a ball toss game.